The misty lanes of a quaint English town, where the River Thames whispered secrets to the ancient willows, lived a young woman named Grace. At 18, she was in the prime of her youth, her auburn hair cascading like autumn leaves, and her eyes sparkling with the unbridled curiosity of someone just stepping into the world. She was studying literature and mathematics at a modest college in Oxfordshire, dreaming of becoming a teacher who could ignite the same passion for stories in others that burned within her. Her days were filled with lectures, dusty libraries, and the chatter of classmates. Among them were two boys, Ethan and Liam, who seemed inseparable, like two sides of the same coin. Ethan was the brooding artist with ink-stained fingers and a sketchbook always at hand, while Liam was the charismatic athlete, quick with a joke and a winning smile. They both loved her immensely, their affections as obvious as the fog on a winter morning. But Grace hated them. She found their constant gazes intrusive, their attempts at conversation forced. Every day as she walked to college along the cobbled paths, she'd spot them lingering outside the gates, pretending to be casual but failing miserably. She'd ignore them, pulling her scarf tighter and quickening her pace, convinced they were nothing but nuisances. One fateful afternoon, however, everything shifted. It was exam day in mathematics, a subject that had always eluded Grace like a slippery eel. Staring at the blank paper, her mind went as empty as the page before her. Panic set in. She couldn't remember a single formula. That's when Ethan and Liam, seated nearby, noticed her distress. In a bold move, they slipped her notes under the desk, clever hints disguised as doodles and whispers. With their help, she managed to solve the problems, scraping through with a pass. Gratitude softened her disdain. "Thank you," she murmured after class, her voice barely above a whisper. It was the first crack in her armor. From there, the ice melted slowly. Casual conversations turned into shared lunches in the college courtyard, laughter echoing under the oak trees. Friendship bloomed like spring crocuses, and before long, it deepened into something more tender, love. Grace found herself drawn to their contrasting personalities, Ethan's quiet depth and Liam's vibrant energy. They formed an unlikely trio, exploring the countryside on weekends, picnicking by the river, and debating poetry late into the night. It felt exhilarating, like discovering a hidden chapter in her own story. But love, in its youth, can be reckless. One evening they suggested she join them in the college hostel for a study session. "It'll be fun," Ethan urged, his eyes pleading. "We can stay up all night revising." Grace flatly refused. Her family was traditional, rooted in the values of their small village home. "How could I stay there without their permission?" she protested. "It's not right." They respected her boundaries, or so she thought. Then came the college party, a whirlwind of music, lights, and laughter in the grand hall. Dressed in a simple floral dress, Grace felt alive amid the crowd. Midway through the evening, Ethan and Liam pulled her aside, whispering about a surprise in a quiet room upstairs. Innocently she followed, never imagining the shadows that awaited. The room was empty, save for a few scattered chairs and the faint echo of the party below. As she stepped in, they locked the door from inside. What happened next shattered her world. They began making advances, their hands insistent, their words a blur of persuasion. "No one will see us," Liam assured her. "We've made all the arrangements." Grace protested vehemently, her voice rising in fear. "This is wrong. Someone might come. Stop." She tried to push them away, her heart pounding like a trapped bird. But they didn't listen. In that locked room, they forced themselves upon her, crossing lines that should never have been breached. It was over quickly, but the violation lingered like a scar. Weeks later, the truth revealed itself. Grace was pregnant. Terror gripped her. She skipped college for an entire week, curled up in her bed, tears soaking her pillow. Gathering her courage, she returned and confronted them in a secluded corner of the campus. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her voice trembling. Their faces paled, worry etching deep lines. "You've done this to me, used force. I'll take action against you." The threat hung heavy in the air. Ethan and Liam were terrified. They begged, pleaded on their knees. "Please, Grace, we're sorry. It was a mistake. We never meant to hurt you." With tears and promises, they convinced her to drop the idea of reporting them. Instead, they arranged for a discreet visit to a clinic with a compassionate doctor. The abortion was swift, but left an emptiness in Grace that no words could fill. After that day, she severed all ties. "Never speak to me again," she said, walking away without looking back. The years that followed were a blur of regret and rebuilding. Grace threw herself into her studies, graduating with honors. She moved to London, far from the memories of Oxfordshire, and became a teacher, shaping young minds with the stories she loved. But every time thoughts of Ethan and Liam surfaced, a shadow fell over her soul. "I made such a big mistake," she'd whisper to herself in quiet moments. "I shouldn't have trusted them." The incident haunted her, a reminder of lost innocence, making her wary of love. At 25, Grace met Alexander in a cozy bookstore in Camden. He was a gentle soul, a history professor with kind eyes and a passion for forgotten tales. Their first conversation was about Jane Austen, how love could be both folly and redemption. Unlike the forceful passion of her youth, this was slow and nurturing. They walked along the Thames, shared teas in hidden cafes, and built a foundation of trust. Alexander listened to her past without judgment, his presence a balm to her wounds. Their love story unfolded like a well-worn novel. They married in a small ceremony under blooming cherry trees, surrounded by friends and family. Children came, 2 daughters, Eliza and Sophia, who filled their home with laughter. Grace found joy in motherhood, teaching her girls about strength and consent, lessons forged from her own pain. Alexander's unwavering support helped her heal. Together they traveled England, from the rolling hills of the Cotswolds to the rugged coasts of Cornwall, creating new memories to eclipse the old. Now at 50, Grace lives in a charming cottage in the English countryside, her hair streaked with silver, her eyes wise with experience. She reflects on her life not with bitterness, but with gratitude. The mistake of her youth, though devastating, taught her the true essence of love, not possession or force, but mutual respect and kindness. Ethan and Liam faded into distant echoes, their actions a chapter closed. In Alexander, she found her forever, a love that mended what was broken, proving that even from the darkest shadows, a beautiful story can emerge. And so, Grace's tale, once marred by regret, became one of resilience and romance, a testament to the heart's capacity to love again.